Welcome back to Griffith's Garden. Today we're going to plant beans and we're going to plant pumpkins. Beans, we're probably a little bit late with our beans, but they're a pretty fast growing crop, so I don't think we'll have too much trouble with that. Here's what I'm going to plant out. It's seed kept from last year. I don't know what's in there, maybe 50 or 60 or something like that seeds, which is probably plenty. These are a bush bean, so again they grow similar to what the potatoes look there actually. And you can get several picks off them, so they certainly provide us with enough green beans for our uses. And even the dog gets a few in his feed as well. So you can never grow too many vegetables. So I took these out of their pods earlier today. You'll be able to see how I did that separately. But they're ready to go in the ground now. So we're going to plant the rest of this bed out. And also I've ripped the defunct broad beans out of the ground. Well, the majority of them anyway. And so we'll fill up that area with these as well. So that'll give us plenty of beans for the year. And I've got the usual suspects here in terms of amendments for the soil, except for coffee. Ran out of coffee. But we have eggshells, dynamic lifter, and blood and bone pellets. So we'll get started doing that and put the amendments in first and go from there. So this is pretty good soil in here already. Yes, it's got mulch on top, but you can see underneath. Hopefully you can see. This is quite a rich soil, but you can never have too good a soil, right? You can see how loose it is. So we'll add the usual suspects back here to it. Just turn it in a bit with the pitchfork, clear out a few of the potatoes that we don't really want. There's another one down there that I'll rip out as well, so the rest of them can stay, but I'll tickle a bit of that stuff in and then we'll get planting. So we'll start with the dusty one. A couple of handfuls there. Move on to the smelly one, dynamic lifter. Now this is going to get dug in, so I'm not worried about being big lots of it in any particular spot. Now for the blood and bone pellets. That'll do. Now just dig it in a bit. And again I'm going to leave the mulch, potato. Incorporate the mulch at the same time. There's a couple of potatoes from that little one that we pulled out. And that's not the old one. Interesting. What else is in there? Nothing. In here, no. Must be just a tiny little root that these things are growing from. Oh, a couple of potatoes. Again, they might make their way into the dog food, or our food for that matter. Don't get too close to these guys. The only thing with incorporating mulch is you want to make sure that when you do plant seeds, they're sitting in soil, not mulch. So it wants to be quite well mixed in. And the reason for that is they won't get the surface contact with soil, so they don't really germinate as good. There's too much air around them. Playing with fire there with the irrigation hose, right? These are just little hoses. Yeah, I think I put a load of mulch on there before, so I probably will take some away. But you get the idea. Particularly here, there's a fair bit. We're going to stake those zucchinis up just there, so it's a chunk of mushroom compost. So they need a bit of space, but not as much as if we weren't going to stake them. Okay, let's get the seeds. I'm happy to drag the mulch over the top. So again, here's our seeds. Plant 2 at a time, 2 per hole. And what do we want? 3 across, probably. Let's start there. I'm not sure if you would have seen that. Might have been a bit close, but you probably see these ones. Just try and cover it up with soil, not mulch. How deep are they? I don't know, like that. Is that helpful? Maybe not. Now again, what's gardening? In between, probably about that deep, to be honest. Give or take, obviously. Get that mulch out of the way. Well, that's a big chunk of solid stuff. Yeah, like that. And those potatoes are going to go rogue, so probably not going to get much more there. Come this side. So I'm not about perfection in the garden, to be honest. It's about whether you know it works. You're not going to have 100% success, but you are going to get, over time, fundamentals of how it works, what does work, what doesn't work, and ultimately you'll get, you'll get a feed in the process. So again, they're only going in about that far. These will need to be watered in. I think that's it, to be honest, for that patch. Now I'm just going to spread this around a little bit so it's not so heavily concentrated in one spot. Looks like the dog's getting out of control again. There's his little bark when somebody goes past. I just got to go around the other side and get this last bit of mulch out, and there we go. So you may have seen a separate clip where I talked about the lack of success on these broad beans, and if you refer to this video, you'll see what the problem was, or not so much the problem, but what the issue was. I've ripped out the ones up this end because they were just going nowhere at all. At least these guys have some flowers on them, so we will get some beans. Time will tell whether or not they form properly or not. So I'm going to leave those there for now, and we'll just put some trusty old amendments back in this section and plant out whatever beans we can fit into this spot as well. Now, we're not going to get too many in here because we have a load more coriander coming up, and you know what, summertime, you can never have too much coriander, cilantro, depending on where you're from, same plant. So I'm just going to rough this up a little bit, and again, this is this mushroom compost, so this will take a while to break down, to be honest, to get rid of these big chunks. And like I said, I don't know if that was the issue or not with the beans, but with the broad beans, not these ones. So I'll just give this a bit of a tickle up, put the amendments in, and plant out what I can. And that is the green beans for the year. Doesn't look like many, but I think we only just finished our beans from last year, not that long ago. And we had an entire bed of where you saw me plant them earlier. Between these two lots, I think we should have enough. Let's go and plant some pumpkins. Pumpkins. Rather large pumpkins. I mentioned before that in a previous video that pumpkins are one of the things that we struggle to grow with here because of the climate being so cold, so there's no question we have to grow pumpkins from seedlings here. And these are rather large seedlings, but they should go gangbusters. Why? Because they get plenty of sun, which is what they need. They're fairly well advanced, as I mentioned. The only downside really is this soil is not that good at all. It's basically got no organic material in it. We will load it up with the usual suspects in terms of amendments, but the reason why this is so bad is simply because it used to be where a big gum tree was, and this gum tree fell down, it had to get dug out, and this is just really a patch of garbage dirt that we are trying to regenerate into good soil. Pumpkins do take a bit of nutrient to get them going, but they also provide a lot of cover on soil as well, so it's probably a good spot out here for them. They can run rampant off into the wherever they get to, and having the irrigation underneath them means that they don't get water on top, and that keeps the disease pressure down. Really, really important if you want to stop stuff like powdery mildew and the like, that you have your irrigation pipe underneath. So I'm going to go and get the three amigos and dig them in, and then we'll start planting these seedlings out. So there's actually 4 amendments in here because this one's got the coffee in it as well. It's probably quite loud. And if you haven't noticed, well, for those with a keen eye, here's one we planted earlier. Same variety. It needed to be planted out, so it came out here a couple of days early. So I've already marked out roughly where these are going to go. So all I really want to do, and I'm going to dig this in, is chuck a handful of this in each spot. And you can see that all the pellets, eggshells and coffee grinds in there. And we're just going to really like I said, pumpkins can do with a lot of feed, so that's probably good enough. Now it's just a matter of incorporating that into where they're going to be growing, and they'll get immediate access to that with their roots, but as they spread out, they'll always have access to this. Am I worried about the roots burning? Not really. Slow release pellets, and they'll have immediate access, but it's not going to burn them. If you put something like urea or, pretty strong nitrogen on there, yeah, sure, but that's also very water soluble, extremely soluble. So we'll also mulch this, so to be good citizens and make sure that we keep evaporation low. But pumpkins are one of those big shady plants anyway, so that should do for what I want to achieve there. Now we have different varieties, commonly known as Jap or Kent variety of pumpkin. These are Queensland Blues, good Aussie, huge pumpkins, good Aussie ones. Queensland's a bit of a giveaway, but you can see that they're different. Not only that, don't worry about these yellow leaves on the bottom. These were purchased. These were saved seed from our own last year. There's one problem with doing what I'm about to do, and that is two different varieties of pumpkins, Queensland Blue and a Kent. So we're probably going to end up with a Queensland Kent, and that's because of cross-pollination in pumpkins. You can get it with zucchini as well, and something like squash. Don't you love our wildlife? If you grow squash, like the little button squash type things, yellow round squash, usually green on top and bottom, like a little saucer. If you have them near a zucchini, you'll get a combination of those two plants growing, because the bees hop from one to the other and pollinate the other one from the other one's pollen. So I'm not sure we'll get true to type, but then again, we'll get a unique pumpkin, hopefully the best of both worlds, and it'll be definitely suited to here. So if we can save some seed from nice big pumpkins next year, well, we won't have to worry about cross-pollination. It'll be what it will be. And if it's good, even better. So let's plant these. There's pretty much there's two in that one. There's one and a smaller one in that one. There's only one there. And there's 4 butternuts here. So, Queensland Blues. Butternuts are yet to be planted out, yet to be seen. You can see how, as they get bigger and bigger, you can see they basically get root bound in their punnets. So as you saw me the other day with the chilies, we're going to break these apart. Just think of the best way to do it, through here. But gently, and you'll definitely break roots, there's no question about that. But you just minimise it and tease it apart gently. You can hear them snapping. And then when it gets to this point, they kind of tell you which ones belong to which. And they just come apart like that. So we're going to plant 2 in each hole. And you can see how dry this is. Terrible. That's probably enough. But that'll get watered in. And like that one over there is still doing fine. Now, if these don't have enough nutrients, right, I think there's probably plenty of phrases you can use. Now this one wasn't actually from a saved seed. You can tell by the weeds that are growing up around it that it's come from somewhere else, and they're easy enough to just pick off and they'll die. But this one was dug up from where we've just put the weed mat down and planted the tomatoes out there. So this one's compliments of the chickens. Recycling our pumpkins seeds. Where is it? Somewhere here will do. And in we go. I don't mind making a bit of a well around them to capture that first lot of water, so they get a really good start. So that's 4 Queensland Blues, Jap there, 1 and a bit here. Kent, I'll call it a Kent. And the last one is double bunger again. Pick those up in a second. Might go a little deeper with that one. It's a bit breezy. You can lose these things in too much wind. Now this peg is just to keep the irrigation line out of the way for the moment. Speaking of irrigation, that'll be a timer. Always good to have timers on your irrigation, whether it be in your pocket on your phone or timers on the wall on your taps. Why? You don't drown them, you make sure they have enough, and it makes it easy. If you've got to come out here every day and water them, you're probably going to get sick of that after a while. And you also don't want to water the tops, as I've mentioned. So that is the irrigation pipe, and all we need to do is plug the hose on the end of it when it needs the water, which will be every few days. It'll take quite a while to get this nice and moist, so that's another reason why you get the hose and water in to begin with. So anyway, that's our pumpkins in the ground. Just make sure it's fairly appropriately spaced for the irrigation. And I'll go and start watering them in. So why don't we start with the one that we've already put in the ground. Turn it on, it might help. You know, when it rains, all this goes out the window, right? But you can't shelter your plants when it rains, unless you have a greenhouse. So this one is already planted, as I mentioned, so it's already had water, and that's why it's not running away too quickly. These guys are going to take quite a bit of water, and that's fair enough because this soil is so dry it's just going to suck it up. So I'll do a couple of laps with the hose, and now you can see why I wanted that little dam. So I can put plenty of water in here and let it soak while I go and do the others. And these yellow leaves will no doubt fall off. That's fine, because they'll get replaced with nice big juicy fat green ones. Probably couldn't get much worse soil, to be honest, at this point. It's not even, you can see how it hadn't soaked already. So I'll probably have to come back and do a little more of this. So if you want to come and have a bit of a look at how we water rocks, you know how good I am at growing rocks. we can just try to minimise all the splash. It's not a perfect science, but you know what, you do what you can. And if this takes a while to soak in, then so be it. There we go. Oh, hang on, we've got one more in the middle. That would have been a bit of a fail, wouldn't it? Anyway, you get the idea now, hopefully. So I don't think I will mulch these tonight because I want to come back and that one's starting to soak in, but I want to come back and give them another really good water, probably in the morning, and go from there. So, thanks again for dropping by. That's it from Griffith's Garden for today.